Hello, I'm Joshua Kitts, the director of the Composed Dream Games RPG Marketplace, and today we're going to be looking at 16, I believe it is 16 different tabletop role-playing games by Canadian designers and publishers. Many of these have just come out very recently in Q1 2025, so they're quite new. A few have been out for a little bit longer, but we didn't have a stock, and a couple I just missed in the last video that I did about 50 different Canadian role-playing games by Canadian designers and publishers. If you haven't seen that, you're very welcome and encouraged to check that out as well. On this table before me, and we have 16 different RPG titles by Canadian designers and publishers. Let's get right into it. This is going to be a relatively quick overview of the title. I'm going to try to show off the inside quickly and say something about it. And you can find all of these on the Composed Dream Game RPG Marketplace. For more details, purchase through there, purchase through your local retailer in Canada. Most of these will also be available in the UK once we have a shipment arrive over there. Some are there already. So most of these are brand new. They came out within this year, 2025, already. A few are older, and I didn't have them in my prior video that I did looking at over 50 different Canadian role-playing games. Once More Into the Void is relatively new. This is by Genesis of Legend Publishing out of Gatineau, Quebec. The designer for this is, I believe, actually from the Philippines. And this uses something called the Firebrand system. So in Once More Into the Void, you have scenes and vignettes and sort of mini-games. You select a character type or archetype. The captain is generally the GM type role, the facilitator type role. So the captain is assembling their crew that all hate each other, who have saved the galaxy once before, and they have to save the galaxy one more time. You create the galaxy-ending threat that you are going to face together, and you have a series of scenes or vignettes that you play through. This can be played in one session or 1 to 6 sessions. If you are playing it in a single session, the game will literally say, if you're playing it, just play these scenes or these mini-games specifically. If not, you can take more time and play other and more mini-games. Generally, at the end of a scene or minigame, you are earning a playing card, which you can use towards conquering the galaxy-ending threat at the end. Let's do Hope in Humanity. Hope in Humanity is by Derek Gore out of the Toronto area, though he's, I think, originally from Ottawa. Hope in Humanity has been around for a while, but it was out of stock for some time for us. So there's an overview of how to play. You're each playing an individual survivor after an apocalypse on a journey trying to get to safety. You have humanity that you care about. Those represent dice, so you need to keep these cards and dice. This is a GM-less one-shot story game. On the back it says 2 hours-ish. It can play a little faster, it can play a little longer, depending on how many players and how much time you are taking with scenes. So to make your character, you grab, I believe it's 3 trait cards, a personality card. You think you start with 1 asset. You could maybe earn more, and a relationship card. So you might be a grandparent and a child, so the 2 players might be related in that way. And then you have scenes, different locations, urban, wilderness, etc. So you pull a scene card, and you have to make usually a horrible decision where you might lose humanity, gain food, lose food, etc. And you roll dice for this. You'll end up crippled or injured or starving, and these are the things you're tracking. Hope in Humanity Martial Law is a supplement. It adds additional assets, traits, etc., scenes that have a bit more of a, maybe you have a military black background or a police background or similar. So, High Plains Samurai here. We have not, again, had this in print for a very long time. We just got this back. This is by Broken Ruler Games. There is also a supplement with 3 adventures that also serves as a quick start, but this is what you need in order to create your own heroes and have more details about the One Land, which is a mashup of cowboys and ninjas and people who have mechs and so on, that are all in kind of that has this wasteland in the middle between all of these strange cities that have been transported from their own world to this strange one. This is one of the things you could explore as your sort of meta plot in High Plains Samurai. So this uses something called the screenplay engine, which does give players the ability to introduce NPCs and other things into scenes, but it can also be played more just kind of as a straight GM'd RPG. But it does have that element to it. Shadows of the Past. Shadows of the Past is a historical role-playing game covering all sorts of different eras. You should be able to create your own era relatively quickly using the guidelines here. It's written in a very approachable manner for folks who maybe haven't or haven't played few RPGs before. It's easy to read, pick up, understand what it's doing. This is by a Nova Scotia designer, George Fleming. So you'll have different eras like Industrial Era or the Atomic Era or Renaissance, Medieval, and you'll have 3 settings for each of those. And then you have properties and gear. It is on the tactical front, so you do tend to play on a grid, or you can play on that. And you're, surviving and acquiring things and keeping things up. And there's perks and so on. It does something interesting with morale as well, where that's something you do need to track. If you're killing people, it's going to bother you as a normal human with somewhat modern sensibilities, for sure. So that's something interesting that Shadows of the Past keeps track of as well. All right, Nefertiti 2.0. So the second edition of Nefertiti Overdrive has just dropped. I have an earlier video where I talked about the prior version of Nefertiti Overdrive. So this is Kung Fu action in ancient Egypt. The main thing that has changed in the second edition is lots more history, vetted by an Egyptologist. You are still, of course, Kung Fu heroes, so you've got over-the-top actions. The layout is substantially improved as well. This essentially uses the Marvel Heroic role-playing game Cortex Plus system. So if you're a fan of Cortex, if you're a fan of ancient Egypt, and certainly if you like Kung Fu, you could have a lot of fun in this setting. It will give you the history that you need to feel comfortable running it. Auspex is a solo role-playing game where you play an oracle. So you are an oracle that somebody has come to consult, and you're using a tarot deck to generate who your visitor is, and you get to create your world first. This is primarily a solo journaling kind of approach, though you could probably just sort of record or narrate what you're doing or what your prophecy is and so on. And what question they have come to ask is drawn by the cards, but then you're interpreting the results, and you're using this book to help look it up, and there's different ways to lay out things depending on what you might want to do. And you sort of get to decide what layout you want to use and for different reasons. So if you're looking for an interesting way to have an oracle in your game, you could use it in that sense too, or use it at least for inspiration. So absolutely very useful, very interesting as a solo game itself, but might also serve as some inspiration or even directly in a game that you're running, be it fantasy or sort of historical. Mythological. Speaking of mythological, Capricious, this is by Ryan Can. I know Ryan Can quite well. We actually went to university together, and he played in Simple Superheroes with me before it was ever released, so he was an early playtester, and he's gotten 2 titles here that he has just released. Capricious is one about gods who have destroyed the world and are going to recreate it, so you get to struggle over how you want creation to be. So, bequeathed the stars is one of the gods. And these are the threads or the things that they want or that is in their nature to have created. And these can be fractured, distorted, or mirrored. Usually when a god disagrees with you or wants to overwrite your thread, they would get fractured, distorted, or mirrored, and then you kind of get to decide how they're twisted, essentially. There's this idea that the gods can literally fight each other, but you really don't want to do that, because if neither of you really backs down at the end of the day, you're both destroyed, and should be removed from the Book of Capricious to never be played again. You don't get to play. And if all your gods are destroyed, well, you never get to play Capricious again. Sorry. You're out of luck. That's a fun idea. If you're looking for an interesting way to create a very different world, Capricious will just be fun to play, but it might give you some inspiration playing that. Lady D's Grand Ball is kind of Regency themed. Idea is that you actually bring music to the game. Everybody would bring different songs. Ideally, that would fit in the theme, but you could tweak the theme for sure for different eras as well. And you listen to the music and have scenes, so you might be dancing, or you might have kind of intermission. And as soon as the song ends, well, that's the end of your dance. That's the end of your interaction with the other player. So it's a little bit more of an embodied LARP on that side of things. Which is also kind of where Sock Puppets falls. It's a little bit more on the LARP or parlor LARP side. So still for small groups, for sure. So your standard role-playing game size of players would work for these. Sock Puppets, you're a group of performers who are on the air, and you have to make a puppet as part of it. So you get a little keepsake. Keepsake game is an interesting term that I've heard for these sorts of games recently. There are a few other keepsake games I could come up with, but Sock Puppets is a quick sort of parlor LARP feeling things where you're meant to be on air and everything goes wrong and you start airing all of your dirty laundry as you play. So it's adorable and very innovative. And over here we have two 5e supplements. The first is brand new, just hit my mailbox this week. So Doom Desert and the Decanter of Delirium by Austin Holmes. There was actually an earlier version of this that was just in PDF. This is revised fairly substantially, brand new layout and everything, and was not in print. So this is a low-level one. It's got a vibe to it about what this decanter is, and it's causing weird problems. So it's a psychedelic adventure for 4 to 6 characters, level 1 to 2. Watcher DM, Austin Home are both out of the Vancouver area. World's Greatest Role-Playing Zine. This is actually a collection of 4 PDF released Zines. I think they were only released as PDFs. Compilation is by Broken Ruler Games. Todd Crapper. So he is one of the contributors on most of these, but you have contributors for all over the world and to short articles and ideas for 5e system. While we're talking about collections, we have Constellations. So Constellation is a collection of 12 zines by different designers. Publisher is Hit Point Press, who are based in Ottawa, Ontario. So there are 12, so a dozen different zines in here with different themes, different vibes. One of the ones that jumped out to me was this, what is it? What is it called again? So with this one here I'm looking at right now. This World Is Not Yours, where you it's mostly a 2-player game. One of you plays as the building that this family lives in, and the other plays as the different generations and people of that family, and then that kind of evolves. But as I said, there are a dozen different games in here. So you have fighting Dracula, and in space you tell the one I just mentioned, telling a story that spans generations. So you're trying to escape, one that's about escaping the abyss, one's about what really happened in your favorite novel, a bunch of different things. Okay, we're going to talk about Chase and Adventure. Chase and Adventure, there's a hardcover and a softcover of Chase and Adventure. I'm just going to flip open, move Fabrication for a second. The hardcover here for a second. This is just released. It's by Spencer Moore, who is also working on the Dungeon World 2nd edition. This is, Chase and Adventure is very much a refined, Powered by the Apocalypse fantasy RPG in the vein of Dungeon World, having learned many things from Dungeon World and other PBTA fantasy games. Playbooks are certainly refined. There's lots of references to online resources and similar that could help you and inspire your game and move forward. That way, there is an option for how to, or some details on how to solo play in Chasing Adventure, and good resources for generating content on the fly as well, which would help with the solo play itself, but also it's not meant to be a super predefined experience. As the GM, you're reacting to the players a fair bit. Okay. Oh, I think I didn't talk about Ringmaster. So, let me talk about Ringmaster quickly, then I'll talk about Pandora and Fabrication. So Ringmaster is a For the Queen, or Descended from the Queen game. This means it's a very narrative-light, GM-less game that you can play in, say, 1 to 2 hours. You can also short the deck and make it faster. The central conceit is you are all members of a circus, and the Ringmaster is the central figure. There are several different crisis cards. So in the classic For the Queen, there is only one, which is the Queen is under attack. What do you do? There's four different crisis cards here. I might have missed one in the box. So that gives you various different endings and very different kind of central conceits that you're building towards. And then, so you have rule cards that lays everything out. You have 6 or a little bit more different ringmasters who could reflavor things. Like we have a rather vampiric looking ringmaster right there. Who will probably refine the prompts, and you have prompt decks, so just questions that you need to answer. And there we have an answer to a question where crises will come up. So there are a couple cards in here that you answer them, and then that's when you pull the crisis card. So very narrative. If you have some folks who just want something really light to start with, or want to have some role-playing, one of your other games doesn't come through, anything along those lines, Ringmaster is a very interesting option. Spotless Dice is out of the Toronto area, I believe. Pandora Total Destruction. This is another one by Broken Ruler Games. We've had this in PDF for a little while, but we have never had it in print before, so this is a superhero game of over the top, and I've been reading it. That's hence the bookmark, as I'm a superhero game designer myself. This is more of a narrative game, so you set a power and then you apply some constraints to it, and there's a bit more of a defined arc. Pandora, you're a superhero who cannot control their powers, and you have been remanded really into custody at a school, as have been most superheroes, have been essentially remanded into re-education schools. So you're dealing with that aspect of a kind of oppression narrative, as well as trying to deal with your own issues and and powers and grappling with them. You get a little bit better at controlling your powers as things go on, but there will definitely be collateral damage in Pandora Total Destruction. That is part of how the story works. This isn't a superhero game where you could have a 40-session campaign. This is more of you have a certain arc that you're going on. Might only be a session if you were going really fast, but you could certainly, I think, a six-session campaign would probably be quite reasonable for Pandora as well. I am still working my way through it. And I might have another one where I talk about this in contrast to Simple Superheroes, in contrast to some other superhero games I've read and played. Last one I have on the table, beyond some honorable mentions, is one of mine. This is Fabrication, a game that makes games. This is the alpha play kit. So these would come inside these play sheets that you'd play. You'd put tokens down as you walk through and collaboratively build a game together. How does that work? Well, you have a first part where you either go to your fundamentals, like how many people are playing, what is your approach for fiat or consensus between GMs and players, if there is a GM at all, how long do you want it to play, or you could go to concept first, and you could loop back, and then you jump into mechanics. So what's inside? Well, there's an appendix, double-sided. There's walking through play style and fundamentals with examples, and you can roll up if you want, or you can't decide. Generally, you're going to be selecting them. Each player will select one, and then you'll pass the sheet on to the next player. So, and then you have your concept as well, and then you move into potential gameplay elements and approaches. So you have first a mechanical path, and then a mechanical facet. So these are things like question prompts, or paths, or hidden value comparisons, or improbability, timed zone control, all sorts of different things. And then you get into how you can play test this together. So the idea of Fabrication is you make a game, you brainstorm up the mechanics, and then you actually test them all at once in one session. And then you can revisit that if you'd like. So Fabrication is sort of your game design game, your game design workshop that you can play together and build something together. And obviously you can also just use it as inspiration. So this is a summary sheet. So that's Fabrication. That's one of mine. There'll definitely be another video at some point that I'll do on Fabrication. There will be a revised and enhanced version at some point, but Alpha Play Kit is available right now to pick up. So all of these are available at composedreamgames.com. They're certainly all available at our Canadian branch right now. They will be soon available at our UK branch, is the general sense as we add things there. Finally, I have a couple honorable mentions. Alors, parce que nous sommes Canadiens ici, ces livres ici sont des jeux de rôle solo, mais c'est par a publisher in France. Can you tell that I am an anglophone? Alors, nous avons La Voix du Chat. Ça c'est Be Like a Cat. So this is a translation of the game by Tim Roberts that won UK Games Expo last year, which we do carry in English as well. A solo or duet. Lignees Royale. Ça c'est un jeu de rôle solo ici aussi. Puis c'est généalogie. So you have a whole genealogy of a royal family that you're defining in this game, which could be quite interesting to work into a game as well, and just quite interesting in general. Quand les Murs me parlent, that's a horror role-playing solo game. These are just going up now, and tell Ulysse, this is a journey ship exploration style game where you're lost with your crew. Again, it's a solo one. Nous avons deux autres jeux en français maintenant aussi. Palanquin, c'est en anglais et en français. Puis Vanguard, c'est aussi en anglais et en français. These, the French games, will just be available in Canada. Oh, finally, I have over here an honourable mention. This is Cartograph by an Australian designer. I have this because it just came in, like, today. So Cartograph is a solo or GM-less game where you're explorers, and you map it. It's really a map-making game, and how you're generating it and the way you're drawing is quite intriguing. It can certainly be used to create a world before you then run that world in another system. I love mapping, so this is I don't solo play much. This is one I am very tempted to play quite soon. All right, so everybody, I hope that is giving you a bit of info, a bit of insight on all of these many Canadian role-playing games with a couple honorable mentions.
All right, well, I hope that has piqued your interest in all of the many and varied role-playing games
game store and pick them up. You can pick them up in PDF. We always have PDFs of everything.
You can get any of these in PDF or print from
any print version always comes with PDFs. So if you ever get any of these titles, say from a retailer or even from us at a convention, and you don't get your PDF for whatever reason, we do always try to get details so we can send that to you. You're always welcome to reach out, and we'll get those PDFs to you.
If you have played any of these, we would love to hear it in the comments. If there is another game that you think we should have or carry, we're always looking for more role-playing games. We distribute these to your local game store, so you're welcome to check out our retailer map that covers various retailers who carry our games both here and in the UK. Both here in Canada and in the UK. We operate a warehouse in both. And finally, thank you very much for spending this time with me. If you have any questions, comments, we would love to hear them. Thank you. And as always, good gaming.